I am Rossana Hu and a partner at Narayan Hu Design and Research Office. This is my office, and we are located in Shanghai. I was born in 1968. You figure out how old I am. So I was born in a city called Kaohsiung, which is in a small island off the China Straits, in an island called Taiwan. And I would say, you grow up like any other child, innocent, with very little. Actually, I think back then we all have very little material things, but very rich kind of spiritual, surrounding with loved ones. And I don't remember having a single toy. So I don't remember having, like a favorite toy because there were no toys. Like I grew up with my grandparents reading and speaking Japanese more than Chinese. But of course, my father is from mainland China, so he spoke Mandarin and Chinese. And we go to school and we're taught Mandarin Chinese, but when we come home, all the kids play in Taiwanese. So it's just like very, very kind of mixed. And then at the time growing up, all my mom's side of the relatives lived in America. So there's, the Western world also kind of, coming into play with my childhood. My parents are very hardworking, and it defines that generation. I think they were a generation that went through the last remnants of World War II, and also for China, because my father grew up in Nanjing, so there was also the Nanking massacre. And then he was in Shanghai when there was civil war between the KMT and the communists. So, so it was war torn in their early lives. But I think some of the defining moments of my childhood are, of course, studying really hard because my parents wanting us to. So school was everything. And then the other side of the childhood experience is going to piano lessons. I hated Wednesday because I had to go to the piano teacher, and I hated practicing, but my parents just forced us to. And so it was kind of like, defying my parents by not practicing, and then, but always being really scared about going to the piano teacher. So that was kind of like a big fear. Every Wednesday afternoon after school, having to go to my piano lesson, and I haven't practiced. My parents didn't allow us to go to the movie theater, so I never saw a single movie until I was a lot older. But at least I know who the movie stars were, and so. Yeah, I think some of the early kind of cinema stars in Taiwan and singers were probably, the ones that I really kind of worshipped as celebrities. Well, he was more my sister's friend. We grew up in the same church, sort of, and my sister's 4 years older than me. Lyndon is 3 years older than me. But I did not know that at the time. He was this figure that was just, around, but with my sister's friends, over there always. And I always thought he was 10 years older because he acted a lot older. So I thought he was working already. So I never even considered him as someone I can be associated with. Until I was looking to go to college and selecting a major. And my sister said, oh, that guy Lyndon, he goes to Berkeley and he's studying architecture, something you're interested in. So why don't you go talk to him? And that's when I said, oh, okay, I didn't know he's still in college, and not working, and actually closer in age from myself. I was pretty young. I was only 18, and it was lunch. It was the day before. He's in the background telling me. My memory is flawed, but I know it was lunch. So it was the day before my high school graduation. So I was 18, and he called me the day before. And then when he asked me to go to lunch, I asked him, "What for?" It's like, why? Like, why do you want to have lunch with me? Completely not thinking he's kind of interested, right? So yeah, and then my father happened to be away those few days, like on a trip, and Lyndon picked me up in my house that afternoon. He pulled up in the driveway, and then my father arrived home. And of course, this is before the internet. Nobody had cell phones. So my father had no idea, and my father knew who Lyndon was. And I'm sure he's thinking, why is this guy in my house? And Lyndon's thinking, wait, why is her father pulling in the driveway? So I think in Lyndon's mind, he was freaking out. And I think he had flowers for me, but he didn't dare take it out because he saw my father. So he left it in the car. And then he came and picked me up, and then and then we went to San Francisco, Japantown. We had lunch, and then he drove me back. So between Lyndon and me, he is the one that is the big shopper, and he has more clothes and bags and shoes and perfume than I do. So I think that's a surprise, right? And you know what? It takes me 5 minutes to get ready, and it takes him 2 hours. Well, I was just confused, didn't know what was architecture. I think architecture for me was just kind of this representation that I see in mass media, which is, TV shows and novels like Ayn Rand, right? I think everyone in high school reads The Fountainhead, and that's kind of this, egotistical hero who was the architect. And then also there's the other side where you watch these films where the architect is always the cultured and beautiful and rich and wealthy and artistic person, right? But in fact, neither of them are the real representation of architecture. And it's really when I started studying architecture in Berkeley, my very first studio, I just fell in love with the study and kind of the process of design. And I find it very, very satisfying intellectually as well as artistically. And I think there's very few subjects that allows one to be kind of, hands-on with, all the different kind of explorations of humanity. Being a minority, I think, back then in America is not like now. I think now America is much more diverse. People understand what it is and how it is to live together with people who are different. Back then, my first year in America was in Chicago, suburban Chicago. And really, I feel like, people many of them have never seen a non-white person. He was my thesis advisor when I did my master thesis, and he's able to engage on your term. So whatever it is whatever issue or research I bring to the table, he can engage with me on my level, as opposed to saying, or, this is how I design and you should just design like that. I feel like a lot of, especially big name architects, their ego kind of gets in the way of their teaching. And they feel like the way they look at things is the only way. But I think Michael has enough facility and he is confident in himself enough. And also I think intellectually blessed enough that he can engage with you on your level. Well, I think definitely early on, Lyndon was more kind of my peer mentor, because everything I learned in my first few years at Berkeley is from him, right? And then there were a few important instructors, both at Berkeley and at Princeton, and Michael definitely is one of them. This is the time when both Lyndon and I were working for Michael Grace. And I was at the time still on maternity leave, but Lyndon was very much heavily involved in a project here in Shanghai called Three on the Bund. And so that project demanded someone from the office to be placed here during construction. Lyndon took on that position and came, and because I was still on maternity leave, and I remember our third son, Zachary, he was only 4 months old. So, and I didn't want Lyndon to just kind of leave home when his son is only 4 months old. So he applied for the office to let the whole family come. So we came with 3 young kids, and it was supposed to be just a few months, see the project through and then move back. And then the project got delayed, I think, from a few months to 6 months. And then there was SARS in that whole year. And then by the end of the first year, we felt like, we're so rooted in Shanghai for many reasons. And also China was starting to really kind of have this creative boom. There were a lot of projects going on. And then, so we thought maybe we wanted to stay here. We have 3, and it's Jeremy is the oldest, and he just graduated from Bard College a year ago. He's a filmmaker. And then the other 2, Hannah is the second, and she's 21 years old this year. She's a junior in college. She's at Harvard in Boston. And she is studying, let's see if I can get this right, history of science. It's a double major, history of science and also visual arts. And Zachary just started college. He's at Vassar, and also kind of searching his interest, not knowing, what he's going to major in. But it's only the first year. Young, when they were, I took 5 years off to be a full-time mom. So, and I think those were also important years for me to, as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, drove me crazy. It makes me kind of value work, because I realize working is so much easier than being at home. I'm sure anyone, any woman who's gone through this understand what I'm saying. But because of that experience, I also understand the women in my office much more. I don't know if I'm a good cook, but I love to eat. I'm a good eater. I'm a real foodie, so we love to eat, and I really love to cook. I hope I'm a good cook. That's something I have to ask Linda. I think soup. I really like soup, and I think like a really good Chinese chicken soup, not like the Western chicken soup, but Chinese like clear chicken soup is the most comforting food. To just sit home and listen to music and read. Being misunderstood. I think a lot of people are superficially, I might look mean and strict. But in fact, I'm just the opposite. Like I don't have a big temper, but I think a lot of people tell me that I look like I have a big temper or a bad temper. For work, I like a white shirt and black skirt. Jeans and boots. Sweater, cashmere sweater. Like my gym clothes, maybe. I pray and try to keep a close relationship with God and try to listen to His words. I don't think in terms of achievement in my dream. I think dreamscape is kind of very abstract, and so you get moments and then you get the feeling, but you don't. I don't. I think in my dream, I'm not trying. There's no achievement in my dream. We get a lot of different kinds of questions, a lot in different interviews. I think the personal, the kind of deeper personal questions are less asked by people. So like the ones that you're asking today, very seldom do we get them. And about my childhood and then about my family and kids. Yeah. Well, okay. So when I came through to China one year, maybe like 2-3 years ago, you have to go through the border and then you have to show your passport to people. So when I show my passport, the guy's like, wait, you have to come back. It's like, this is wrong. It's not 68, it's 86, right? Like your passport is wrong. And I was like, okay, I really want to thank you and you made my day. No, definitely not. I try to exercise more now than ever before in my life, but I've never been sporty. Yeah, so that's Lyndon's department. Home means family and love. Is the self. Hard to define. And it should not be defined by other people. It should not be defined by the society or the world. I think success should be defined by a deep sense from our inner self. Peace is only from God. Style is a dirty word. Beauty is only skin deep. Is my hero. China is complicated. Writing. Sushi for this one. Aura. Neither. Night. This little place that we designed and also we conceptualized the food, it's called Together. The sketchbook. Coffee and croissant. White. One project at a time.